Enumeration through service principal names. So far, we have enumerated domain users to find logged-in user accounts that are members of high-value groups. An alternative is to target so-called service accounts, which may also be members of high-value groups. When an application is executed, it is always in the context of an operating system user who launched it. However, services launched by the system itself use the context based on a service account. In other words, isolated applications can use a set of predefined service accounts: local system, local service, and network service. For more complex applications, a domain user account may be used to provide the needed context while still having access to resources inside the domain. When applications like Exchange, SQL, or Internet Information Services are integrated into Active Directory, a unique service instance identifier, known as a service principal name, or SPN, is used to associate a service on a specific server to a service account in Active Directory. By enumerating all registered SPNs in the domain, we can obtain the IP address and port number of applications running on servers integrated with the Active Directory, reducing the need for a broad port scan. Since the information is registered and stored in Active Directory, it's present on the domain controller. To obtain this information, we'll again query the domain controller in search of specific service principal names. Let's update our PowerShell enumeration script to filter the service principal name property for the string *HTTP*, indicating a registered web server. Now we'll run this updated script and inspect the results. The search returns a number of results, and although we could further filter them, we easily spot the relevant information. One attribute name, SAM account name, is set to IIS service, indicating the presence of a web server. And service principal name is set to http corpwebserver.corp.com. This all seems to suggest a web server is part of the domain. Let's attempt to resolve corpwebserver.corp.com with NSLOOKUP. The host name resolves to an internal IP address, which is also the IP address of the domain controller. If we browse to this IP, we find a default IIS web server. A domain controller would usually not host a web server, however, the lab is full of surprises. While the enumeration of service principal names does not produce the web server software or version, it will narrow the search and allow us to enumerate that information manually or with focused port scans.